think it's just a veteran quarterback. I think it's the veteran quarterback that we wanted, and so I don't know that, there was this thing that, well, we got to go out and find any veteran quarterback. We wanted to find, the quarterback that we wanted. And like I said before, we clearly identified Derek as our number one target, and we went and got him.
Forgot to put myself on screen. What's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Hope everybody had a great weekend. This is the podcast where we talk New Orleans Saints. And before I get started, before I say anything or discuss any topic, today I want to acknowledge a person that I admire more than anybody in this entire world. Everybody that follows this show, anybody that has followed this show already knows how I feel about my mother. Today is my mother, Miss Carolyn Jones Smith's birthday. So I want to take this moment to wish my mom a happy birthday. My mom means a lot to me, y'all. Y'all know that. And I think a lot of what I do as far as being creative comes from her. My mom is an author. She's a poet. She's a therapist when you need her to be one, and she's a friend every day of my life, man. So I want to acknowledge my mom today. Would not be no State of the Saints. Don't think I would be able to put these words together to be as informative or entertaining as people say that I am without my mom. So I want to wish her a happy birthday. Know she's going to be watching this. She's probably watching it right now. But I love her more than anything in this world. Man, my mom means a lot to me. So happy birthday to you, Mom. Definitely dedicating this episode of State of Saints podcast to my mom on today. And let's go ahead and get started, man. Let's talk a little bit about Derek Carr. Over the weekend, Derek Carr spoke to the media. He spoke as a member of the New Orleans Saints for the very, very first time. And, I guess I hold what I got to say about it. Here's a little soundbite with Derek Carr and his decision to come to New Orleans, and he says he owes a lot of that decision to Drew Brees, and this is what he said.
I sent Drew a text, and obviously I won't get into his business on what he said. And I sent him a text, and it was early in the process. I think it was right after my visit here, but he called me. And I had a free afternoon. He called me, and I just asked questions. Asked questions about the organization. Asked questions about Mickey, Pete, the city. Everything. The community, all that. And a lot of what he said, he answered a lot of questions for me. A lot of what he said is probably why I'm sitting here today. When someone you respect so much that you've competed against, and he's one of. I'm not coming here trying to be Drew Brees. That man is a Hall of Fame quarterback. I'm coming here to be Derek Carr.
So he's very appreciative to Drew Brees, and he feels as if Drew Brees was the reason he made that final decision to come to New Orleans. The next topic that he talked a little bit about was wide receiver Michael Thomas and the relationship that he has started to establish with Carr and Mike.
Me and Mike, we've gotten close through this process and talking, and the first time I talked to him on the phone, I don't think he wanted me to get off the phone. I really enjoyed talking to him, and I told Mickey, I was like, you talk to Mike Thomas, and you feel like you two could go out there and face the world. I told my wife when I got off the phone, and she was like, why are you smiling? I was like, I love this guy. He's so competitive. And I think just the energy that he brings. It would be very exciting times to throw him the football for sure. So, when he started recruiting and talking to me and all that, he wouldn't even like try and recruit me. He's just like, hey, when are we getting to work? We're wasting time. Time's ticking. And I was like, yeah, I feel the same way. But we'll get there.
So he talks about the relationship between him and Michael Thomas being pretty instrumental, persuading him to come to New Orleans as well. Look, I think Derek Carr won over a lot of Saints fans over the weekend, just the way that he spoke, him talking about, he's not trying to be Drew Brees. From that press conference, they talked maybe like 50 minutes to the media. You come away from that press conference understanding that Derek Carr is his own man. And a lot of people want him to be Drew Brees. A lot of people compare him to Drew Brees. And he let everybody know from the jump that he's not. And I don't think anybody's asking him to be Drew Brees, but there is a level of responsibility that he has right now. Being a seasoned veteran, being a guy who, has been in the league as long as he has. And he, New Orleans Saints fans are expecting for them to win a lot of games with him as the quarterback. But I think that a lot of people kind of see who Derek Carr actually is as a person, the confidence that he comes with, talking to the media. I think it changed a lot of people's minds. And I think that because I checked out a lot of Twitter pages. People like, yeah, I think we good. And I think that was necessary, man, because, a lot of people know about Derek Carr through mainstream media. Like, if you're not following Raiders football, you don't really know that much about him besides what's being presented about him. And sometimes that's why I tell people you have to be very, very careful not to fall into the trap of narratives. You need to formulate your own opinion about a person before you start running with narratives, because a lot of people, what they do is they look at mainstream media and they take what that person says and they run with it. And I think that by seeing Derek Carr in a press conference, hearing him talk, listening to, how he breaks everything down and understanding the type of mental makeup that he has, I think that was a breath of fresh air for some Saints fans. Now, if you're a big-time sports fan and you don't just follow Saints football and you understand about Derek Carr and you've seen him play in real time and you've seen him put up numbers and you've seen him play at a pretty high level, this isn't a shock to you. But it is probably a little bit of a shock to a lot of other people. I think Derek Carr is a really good quarterback. I still feel like the Saints are in a better position, than they've been in a couple years at the quarterback position. Some people may not agree with that. But here's the reality, folks. I'm just like, let's just call a spade a spade. Now, for all the people out there, and this is not a knock. If it sounds like one, I apologize. But do you find it interesting? Don't you find it interesting that you had Michael Thomas, Cam Jordan, Mario Davis, Tyrann Mathieu, these guys out here blowing up the phone of Derek Carr, reaching out to him. Michael Thomas don't want to get him off the phone. Isn't that weird, though? All right. I know a lot of people want to say, no, the Saints did Jameis Winston wrong. But my question is, and I feel like it's fair to ask, if all those players on the Saints team felt like Jameis Winston or, Andy Dalton or one of these other guys were were the guy that can lead this team to the next level, why were they really adamant about getting Derek Carr to New Orleans? I mean, that's what I would like to know. But anyway, it seems to me like they really want this guy to be here. They're happy that he's here. And I think that, Derek Carr is going to be pretty good for the New Orleans Saints. But that's just the way that it goes. We'll see, like Derek Carr saying all the right things, doing all the right things, winning over the Who Dat Nation for the most part. People like, parallels and similarities. Like everybody like, oh, he has three boys and one girl like Drew Brees, right? Like his wife got blonde hair like Brittany, like whatever. I don't care about any of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's good that he's a family man. he really embedded into his fate. All that stuff is great, but can you play the position? Can you elevate the position and take it to the next level? Is the question on a lot of Saints fans' mind. That's the question on my mind. All right, but I will reserve my judgment and I'll wait and see. I think that he has a lot of qualities that you can actually build on, but I think that a lot of Jameis fans out there, you got to be real with yourself. If everybody would just all in on Jameis Winston, why are these key players out here really in hot pursuit of Derek Carr? If you got Jameis Winston on your team, that's something that you have to think about. Like, no knock at Jameis, but I'm just saying, like, why would they do that if you got an able-bodied quarterback with talent and skills and ability? So maybe there is something there, and maybe it wasn't just DA's decision. He may have the final decision, but maybe there were some other guys that may have drawn that conclusion or helped DA come to that conclusion to keep Jameis Winston on the bench as long as he did. Like, I don't know. Like, that just kind of weird to me. Like, you have Jameis Winston on your team and all of a sudden everybody hitting up Derek Carr, but I digress. Let's go ahead and read some of these comments, man, and go ahead and get started. I'm pretty sure a lot of people want to talk about other topics. I just haven't talked about that because, I ain't do a show over the weekend, but definitely wanted to give my thoughts about the whole Derek Carr situation. We'll start with Lee Honcho. Lee Honcho says, I know I'm excited and all, but Carr looked like he finna handle some unfinished business. Well, look, the best thing about it is he comes in with a chip on his shoulder. Like when you are a guy who has a chip or a woman who has a chip on your shoulder, sometimes like it elevates you, right? It pushes you, it drives you, right? I know, man, I have a chip on my shoulder every single day, even if it's not necessarily a chip, but I feel that way. Like, I feel that way quite often. And when somebody tells you you're not good enough, I got a story, okay? I got a story about this. I used to be an assistant manager for a drugstore, right? Every year, we used to have these evaluations. And these evaluations like tell you like, okay, are you a good leader? Are you, like, do you do your work on time? Things you need to work on, this and that, right? For you to be able to get your full, raise or whatever. But anyway, I remember like going over this evaluation, and I remember like the manager at the time felt as if I was a little bit too buddy with the other staff members. And, I never forget these words as long as I live. This dude told me, looked at me in the face, he said, I know you feel like you are a leader, but you're not. That's what this guy told me. He said, I'm not a leader. He said, I will never have what it takes to be able to run my own store or, to be the head guy. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. When he told me that, it did put a chip on my shoulder. And it drove me to a point where I ended up getting my own thing. And my own thing trumped what he was doing, where he was at, right? So sometimes, like, when people tell you these things, it drives you, right? It drives you. And, I could be a jerk and, call his name out, which I won't. You know what I'm saying? I won't do that. But a part of me wants to thank him, because if he probably wouldn't have told me that, I probably wouldn't have lived up to my full potential, probably wouldn't be able to, move up the ladder, probably wouldn't be able to move out to South Carolina where everything just kind of started to work out for me. So there you go. Okay. Sometimes those chips on your shoulder can be that launching pad. And if he comes in with that chip and he goes and he plays at a high level, people are saying that you're not good enough. Man, I can't think of a bigger chip. I can't. Like, I can't think of a bigger chip than somebody telling you that you're not a leader, or somebody telling you you're not good enough to lead a team to prosperity. Like, yeah, that's how it is, man. But, sometimes like those chips and can be the launching pad for you. scroll down a little bit. It says Carr said he was going to reinvent himself with the Saints, and to be honest, that's what Drew Brees did when he came from the Chargers. Only time will tell for sure. Yeah, I mean, look, skill, determination, and the right situation can elevate you, right? Now, man, you can have all the skills in the world and ability in the world, but if you don't have the right person or the right coaches to get that out of you, it no matter how much you got, all right? So hopefully this can be a good little recipe, him and Pete Carmichael, to elevate and push this team. But I do look at this dude like he's no punk. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not one of those people that's gonna be easily manipulated. And you could tell, like, man, there's some sour grapes. Like some of the he threw some jabs now. He threw some jabs out there, you know, like, so the dude is wired a little bit differently. And he when he say he's not Drew Brees, he's not Drew Brees. You know, like you can tell by it. I feel like Drew Brees, no matter what the situation is, Drew will kind of keep that whole politician thing going, you know, but Derek, it seemed like to me, like if something like really bothers him or really irks him, he's going to rather like really push the issue or make you feel bad about saying it at all, make you gonna eat your words. So like he's wired completely differently from Drew Brees. Let's see. I'm glad Dennis Allen got this guy and his coaches. No more excuses, including injuries for coaches and quarterback. It's time to get put up. Get off the pot. Well, I know I get what you're saying, man, with the poop emoji, but I had to try to PG it up. And man, I agree. Look, I've been saying this. I've been saying this. I said, allow him to get the coaches he want, the players that he want, whether you have no more excuses. I've been saying this for months. You know, I don't have a problem with it. I have absolutely no problem with Mickey Loomis allowing Dennis Allen to run the team the way that he wants to run the team. Because if the Saints don't perform well this season, it's on you. It's on you. There's no more excuses. There's no more, oh, this was Sean guy. You can't hide behind that anymore. They even allowed you to really go out here and get the guy that you really want at the quarterback position. So you got your quarterback, you got your coaches, and the way the defense is going, and some of these guys are leaving, a lot of the guys that you're going to draft, you know, those are the guys that you're going to want to get. So at the end of the day, there are no more excuses. So I have no problem with Dennis Allen hiring the guys that he wants and getting Derek Carr as his quarterback, because that's who he wanted. Now they need to update the Madden 23. I can't wait to play with my new quarterback. We have a top 10 defense, maybe a top 5. Carr just needs to take care of the ball and score touchdowns. Look, I just think that Carr is much better than a lot of people giving him credit for. You can, like, there are going to be some games where Derek Carr is the reason why the Saints win. Like, you're probably going to see him put up like 3 touchdowns or something like that in a game, or, you know, or go over 250 yards passing. Like, this isn't, to me, like, I think that we have been, I don't know, we got a little bit of football PTSD, if you will. Like, so many mistakes and boneheaded decisions for the most part have been made at the quarterback position for the last couple of years. We just want to keep the car on the road, no pun intended, right? We just want to keep the car steering straight. So we like, well, look, just don't make no mistake. Like, just throw the ball out of bounds. Like I think that we have grown accustomed to wanting just a guy to just kind of just keep it going, right? But this dude at times will be the reason why the Saints win a football game. You got a quarterback that has that type of capability. So don't expect for him to, you know, be, you know, like super conservative like we would want these other quarterbacks, is because kind of they need it to be. With him, he doesn't really necessarily have to be, because he does have the capability of taking over a game and, you know, erasing deficits. He has that capability. Like, this isn't Andy Dalton. Like, if you're down by 3 touchdowns, like, we know for a fact this is going to be a tough day at the office. That's just not Derek Carr. Like, so, I mean, there's going to be times where, you know, the Twitter accounts may blow up, you know what I'm saying, talking about this dude on fire or something like that. Like, he has that type of capability. So I just think that people may need to understand that and not just look at him as like a dink and dunk quarterback, because he can be that, but he has more of a skill set, and I feel like he has more belief in himself that he can actually get the job done than that of an Andy Dalton, who probably was playing to play the next week, So the landlord, thank you very much for the $5, says besides Mahomes, Rodgers, Allen, and maybe Wilson, who's definitively better than Carr? Absolutely no one. I mean, there's some guys out there, like Mahomes, like you said, Rodgers, Allen. Man, I mean, when he's been playing, like, he's been like 2 years removed from actually playing, but I mean, I think Deshaun Watson is better than him. I feel like Lamar Jackson is better than him. I mean, I think Joe Burrow is better. I mean, there's some guys I can throw out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, like there's some dude, like, I don't want to just say like he is terrible, but at the end of the day, man, they got some guys out there that's like much better. Like, I don't want to say much better. Well, some guys are much better. And then there's some guys that are just simply better. Look, there's nothing wrong with a guy being outside of the top 10. Like, you still can win with a guy on the outside of the top 10, right? Everybody can't be on Mount Olympus as the quarterbacks, but you can still win with them. But there's some guys you can name that are better than Derek Carr. I'm not going to go that far. I know he's the Saints quarterback, and, it's our job kind of to defend the guy because he's our guy now, but let's not go overboard with it now. They got some quarterbacks out there that give him a run for his money. No, I am not excited about Carr. Saints beginning to look like the 2014 Raiders from the sidelines to the field. Well, you can look at it two ways, right? You can look at this being the 2014 Raiders because of the coaching staff, but it was a completely different organization. Or you can just look at it like, hey, like this could be the deciding factor to know if, the Saints are going to keep this dude. I'm talking Dennis Allen for the foreseeable future. So, a lot of us aren't really sold on Dennis Allen. Let's just call a spade a spade. We're not really that sold on him, right? I'm like, he's the coach, and some of you probably feel the same way. He the coach, he ain't going nowhere, so we might as well just kind of just deal with it. But I have no problem with the direction that's going on. It's going to be sink or swim, Barbara. Like, seriously. Like, if it don't pan out, then we already know what's up, right? So I'm okay with it. Like, I'm okay with if this season don't pan out the way that we want it to pan out. I hope that I'm wrong, or I hope that they exceed expectations. But if they don't, I'm okay with it. Like, I'm serious. Like, I'm okay if this thing don't pan out, because we need to know. Like, like if it didn't pan out to be this way, then there will always be excuses, and there will always be justification to bring this dude back or bring the other, coaches back. Like, if it don't pan out, then we know for sure that he's not the guy. So, like, do whatever you feel like is necessary that you think is going to take this team to the next level. You went out here and you got Derek Carr. You know what I'm saying? Y'all restructuring deals. You know what I'm saying? Y'all, trying to make moves, and y'all trying to do some things, to bring some guys back. Sometimes, some guys move on, of course, what we're seeing today. But, no more excuses after this. None. So if it don't pan out, it just don't pan out. Those are the breaks. TJ, the concern for me has honestly never been about any of the players, all about the coaches. I'm taking Carr signing with a grain of salt. Well, look, I think that's where a lot of people feel, Jerome. A lot of people feel it's not the players. Like, the players have what it takes to win. It's the coaches to put them in a position to win. I do feel like the coaches need to change the way that they coach. I do feel like there's a level of fear and a fear of not making the right decision that plagues this team. sometimes you just got to go wall to wall with it, right? Sometimes you got to be aggressive. And the conservative approach of this team, sometimes the conservative play radiates off these players, right? Because in a way, you're like telling these players you don't fully trust them, right? If it's 4th and 1, you don't trust them to get a yard, right? Like it's just stuff like that. Like I feel like they're going to have to change the way that they coach. That don't mean you have to change your personality, but you want to put these guys in positions to succeed, and you want to put a little bit of accountability on these guys and have these guys believing that you believe in them, and maybe you'll find success. But that conservative stuff, I think that, they need to really evaluate themselves and see why they make some of the decisions that they do. Matt won a Super Bowl at 34. Carr is 31. Think about that. Can go to Los Angeles with 4 plays, can hit deep balls and immediate. Well, look, all I know is Matthew Stafford was a guy that a lot of people just felt like just padded stats. Rob Parker called him Stat Pafford, as I said. And nobody expect for him to win anything, right? But he goes to the Rams and they win. So, that is something that people have to consider. Derek Carr is not a terrible quarterback. You can win with this dude. And I said this, like if you're looking for Derek Carr to just basically put the team on his back and just go out there and just put up a whole bunch of yards and a whole bunch of touchdowns, I just don't feel like that's it. But there are times where, he's going to look like the best quarterback on the field. And there are going to be some times where he probably struggles a little bit, and that defense going to have to pick up the slack. If you can have a good combination of good quarterback play, a good defense, and a solid team all together, like you can win with it. You don't have to be the greatest quarterback of all time to win a Super Bowl. You don't. Tuttle stole somebody's money. Let's see. Big Sean, Petey, I totally agree. Man, Tuttle robbed them in broad daylight. Tuttle couldn't stop a nosebleed. Look, I ain't about to sit up here and talk about a guy because he's gone. Like, seriously, I like Shy Tuttle a lot. And everybody, look, like, I'm not trying to be like one of them people. I'm not going to kick somebody on the behind on the way out because, they making money. These people are businessmen. Football is a business. These guys are trying to make sure that they take care of their family and take care of themselves, for the foreseeable future. Look, everybody want to talk about Shy Tuttle and talk about his shortcomings now. Let's not be one of those folk, because anytime a Falcon fan tell us anything, that's the first meme we bring up, him stiff-arming Matt Ryan. So let's not just sit up here and just bash the guy now that he don't play for the team. Like, let's not do that, all right? The guy got opportunity to make more money, right? And it just so happened he's going to be going to the Panthers. But at the end of the day, like, I'm happy for the guy. I'm happy for him, Like, Shy Tuttle wasn't the worst, interior lineman that I've seen, and I think that he made some plays in the Saints uniform. Guy was never like a starter or anything like that, but this gives him opportunity to be able to be a full-time starter. And I'm happy for the guy. And I think you should be happy for him too. Let's see. What do you think about them acquiring Ugo Amadi? Let's see. I don't know much about the guy. Well, I mean, I ain't got no problem with it. I mean, he's much younger. He has good instincts. From what I've seen, like, he's a really good tackler. Something, what I'm saying? And I think the Saints can actually use him, as that box safety that they've been looking for. I think that, they wanted Tyrann Mathieu to kind of do that, which is a big no-no, but it opens up an opportunity for a guy, to come in and be that box safety that the Saints need, because they, sometimes the Saints, they play 3 safeties on the field, and you have a guy that can play, a little bit of box safety, a guy that's a sure tackler. I think that's pretty good. And also a guy that probably can assist a little bit on special teams as well. So, I ain't got no problem with that. I don't want to say I know that much about him, because I don't, but I do know he's a solid tackler, and that's something that the Saints definitely need. Need to look in the free agent and draft for a DA spot. Yeah, I mean a DT, the defensive tackle spot. Yeah, definitely need to, because I mean you already lost Davon Yamada to the Falcons. That's somebody that that's a big loss. That's a big loss for the New Orleans Saints. So you're definitely going to have to find somebody to replace them. My two options, I'm gonna be honest. My two options would be number one would be Calais Campbell. Some people say Calais Campbell too old, but here's the reality: if you get yourself a seasoned veteran in the locker room and a guy that can still make some noise. People act like Calais Campbell getting pushed around. I don't know if you watch Ravens football, but the guy 36 years old had 5.5 sacks. He had more sacks than the guy that you just lost, right? He has had more tackles and assists for the most part than the guy that you just lost in David Onyemata at 36 years old. And I'm not expecting Calais Campbell to have 14.5 sacks like he did when he was playing for the Cardinals, but he can give you that leadership, and also he can actually help develop some of the younger guys. Another guy that I feel like should, get a second stint would be Sheldon Rankins. Sheldon Rankins can be another guy that can actually come in. I don't feel like he would demand a lot of money. He's a guy that all the, guys on defense for the most part are familiar with. DA knows him. So I think that he can be a good fit for as a veteran. But this definitely changes the way that I'm looking at the draft now, because I feel like now you have to go interior lineman. But the good thing about it is they got some good ones. They got some good ones in this draft. This is a deep draft for edge rushers and defensive tackles. So they definitely can find a guy that can replace a guy like David Onyemata. But to me, I think it would be too much to just ask a young guy to just come in and just give you like that spark. Like I do feel like you need to develop, a guy. Also, there's another way that the Saints can, kind of move some stuff around. I mean, I think about like Peyton Turner, right? Peyton Turner not only played outside, but he played inside in college as well. So that's another guy that the Saints could possibly use to try to move from the outside to the inside. I mean, that could be something that they can explore. But I definitely feel like you need to get yourself a veteran and go alongside like a young guy who has that type of talent and ability, because I think that, you need that. You need that. So if you can get a guy like Sheldon Rankins or Calais Campbell, I think that would be a plus. Like I'm not looking for those guys to be like ultra dominant and stuff like that, because they still are playing at a relatively high level, right? And we know that for the most part, Calais Campbell definitely can stop the run. Ain't nobody really moving around no 6'8", 290-pound dude like that. Robert, thank you very much for 199. Say, yo, TJ, can you get Shy Tuttle agent on the show? I wish I could. I wish I could, but I mean, why? I mean, first of all, why would I? Like, what are we supposed to do? I'm just saying, like, why are we like sitting up here bashing this dude? Like, I ain't never had no problem with Shy Tuttle. Like, I never had an issue with Shy Tuttle. So I'm not going to like sit up here and just talk about the guy because he's no longer with the Saints. And then on top of that, like, who knows? Like, how many guys have we seen the New Orleans Saints not really fully utilized, and then all of a sudden they still go to another team and they still have something to offer, or they exceed expectations, right? So we like, oh man, he ain't really that good. Who knows? Maybe it's because we know how teams work. If you're not a first round pick, or you're not like somebody that they actually draft, those guys always get first priority. So we know that sometimes some of those guys that be undrafted, unproven, sometimes they don't get those opportunities because the team feel like they got too much money invested in some of these first, second round picks. So I'm not going to say that this dude can't go to Carolina and make some noise. I don't know that. I've seen this too many freaking times. I've seen it too many times where, a team allows a guy to go and they end up going to a team and they end up playing much better. It's rather they getting coached better, or they get more opportunities or more reps. And sometimes that's it. But I'm not going to say that's a bad contract. Who knows? Shy Toto might go to Carolina and he might outplay that contract. Let's see. I see Saints made an offer to Roach, but he's testing the market. Well, that's good for him. That's good for him, man. Like, because these dudes deserve to get paid. Like, we want these dudes to do all the work and grind and all that kind of stuff for pennies on the dollar. Like, no. Like, I'm not gonna hate on a guy for getting money. I'm not. Shy Tuttle will be remembered for stiff arming Matt Ryan. Exactly. That's what everybody says. Like, everybody, everybody puts that meme up when they trying to troll Falcon fans. Everybody. I ain't never heard nobody say nothing about Shy Tuttle or, he trash or he ain't good enough. I ain't never heard none of this stuff. So I'm not kicking nobody on their way out. Seriously. Like, I wish Shy Tuttle could still be on the Saints team. I like Shy Tuttle. I think he's made some plays. I think he did some really good things as a Saint. As long as Chris Harris Jr. is not playing nickel, we good. Ladd, Roby, Debo, and Taylor is the starting cornerbacks. Let's see. I believe in Derek Carr. People acting like we signed Matt Flynn. We can win with Carr. Let's see. He stiff-armed the hell out of Matt Ryan. I talked about Tuttle when he was here in every chat. I'm consistent. Well, I don't see. I mean, it wasn't much to really talk about, to be honest with you. Wasn't much to talk about, because he wasn't really part of the rotation. Like, how many times? Like, I mean, I gotta look at some of these stats. Like, I remember Malcolm Roach, David Yamada. I remember Street being out there. Like, I ain't really seen too much Shy Tuttle. He kind of fell to the back of the depth chart. So I'm like, when was he really out there playing? Like, every now and then, like, if somebody get hurt, he'll probably be a part of rotation, but he still wouldn't start. So I don't know. Like, I can't say, like, oh man, this is awful. He played terrible. I ain't seen much Shy Tuttle. I didn't, because he kind of fell down the depth chart. I don't think he fell down the depth chart because he wasn't good enough. I just think that he kind of fell down the depth chart because some of these guys with money deserve first priority in the eyes of this organization. Let's see. I was about to say we should bring him back. Mike T lobbied for Carr hard and others alone while Jameis Winston on the roster. Carr able to go to loss with 4 plays to audible and set protection. Maybe Jameis Winston only capable of 2 plays and hard to read D. You don't play in a league this long if you can't read the defense. Like, I don't believe that. I don't buy it. You're not as successful as you are as a quarterback throughout his collegiate career if you can't read a defense. Jameis Winston can read a defense, right? Now, you can question like some of the times where, you probably held on to the ball too long. But for the most part, he made good decisions with the football as a member of the Saints. Like, I ain't really seen too many times where I just feel like he was like deer in headlights. If you want to be honest with anything, he probably went rogue, especially in that Falcon game. He probably rubbed some of them boys the wrong way because he was like, shucking that ball down the field and, giving the guys the opportunity to come down with the 50-50 balls. And maybe it was too many 50-50 balls than they actually liked. I don't know. But I ain't going to say he can't read a defense. I can't. Nah. You don't play in the league this long, or you don't become a starter that long if you can't read a defense or you ain't put in the work. What's going on, TJ and the fan? What's going on, Uncle? It says for defensive tackle, I'll go with Shelby Harris, Pounding Ford, and Brian Brees in the draft. I'm good on Clemson players. I don't care what y'all talking about. Like, name a Clemson defensive player that's out here balling, you know what I'm saying, for the most part, besides AJ Terrell. You know what I'm saying? That's about it. I don't really know too many other, you know what I'm saying, like Clemson defenders out here that's balling. Like, you got T. Higgins, of course, you got Hopkins, all the boys on offense, Deshaun Watson. I don't really see too many Clemson defensive players that's out here that just balling out of control. Like, I don't know, like they peak in college or something like that. I don't know, but I'm good on the Clemson players. Y'all can buy that stuff, the cornbread fed dude out there, y'all can buy that if y'all want to. But yeah, I'm good on that. I'm good. I'm good on them Clemson players. Y'all can have them. Somebody said Isaiah Simmons. Isaiah Simmons, where the Pro Bowls at? You know what I'm saying? Like, where the honorable mentions at? I don't see it. Like, yeah, he caught an interception against the Saints. Okay, whoop de doo. Like, I'm not impressed. Like, I can name 4, 5, 6 linebackers better than this dude before I even get to his name. You know, like I'm just saying, like, you don't see too many Clemson players that's good, that's built like that. Like, seriously. Like, so I'm good. Like, can I interest y'all into Stephon Anthony? Can I interest y'all into Vic Beasley? Like, who else was out here who was supposed to be wrecking shop? When did Shaq Lawson, where he at? I mean, I'm sorry, folks. I ain't seeing these folks. Like, I don't need mediocrity. You know, I don't need average dude. Okay. I don't need one play you getting blown up and then the next play you might make the tackle. Nah, I'm good on it. I need some athletes. I need some guys that's going to be consistent. I don't need some guys that I'm just going to put in a box and try to, you know, and I got to look at you and squint an eye and, you know what I'm saying, tilt my head a little bit to see if you good or not. No, I'm not feeling it. Clemson defensive players have not lived up to the potential. Like, they be dominant in college, but when they get to the pros, they just some jags, you know? Bijan and Tajay liable to be gone by pick 40 for sure. Maybe could get one of them at 29. Yeah, I mean, look, if Bijan Robinson is there, you snatch him up. Like, seriously. Because like I said, this is a deep draft for guys that's on the defensive line. So you can get a really good defensive tackle in the second round at number 40. You can. Look, but if you can get yourself a talented running back that can run somebody over, that can catch the ball out of backfield, that's really good at pass protecting, as overall, like an overall back, you snatch him up. Like, I know some people was like talking about me when I brought Kincaid, you know, out of Utah. It was like, man, why don't you get a tight end in the first round? It's because this dude is like one of the top tight ends in college football. Like, has the potential to be like a really, really good tight end, right? Now, think about this. You have an opportunity to get him, you pass him up, and then all of a sudden he goes to another team and he just wrecking shop, and that could have been your guy, right? So, to me, I just think that if a really good borderline generational talent falls into your lap, sometimes you got to make an exception, even if, you know, you got to move some things around in order to get them. But as far as Bijan Robinson is concerned, like, this dude is one of those guys that has the talent and ability that we haven't seen since Saquon Barkley came out. Now, when you mention Saquon Barkley, you're talking injuries, but I'm talking about him as a player, as an athlete, his balance, his ability, this, you know, his low center of gravity, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, be able to drag folk, make really good decisions. So that's what I'm looking at as far as a running back. Sometimes you got to make those exceptions, even if, you know, it may not be the most popular decision. Just like if, you know, things start to, you know, kind of unravel for Jalen Carter. Like, as we all can see, I don't know what happened. I don't know if he didn't pay somebody. I don't know if somebody just, you know, ticked off because he ain't hiring him as an agent, but it just seemed like somebody have it out for that dude, right? They basically, you know, pinned him, you know, at the scene of a crime, you know what I'm saying that he was racing the two guys that was killed in a car crash. Then all of a sudden, you know, you got video footage of him speeding, tinted windows. It just seemed like to me like, you know, somebody's really trying to affect this dude draft stock. And if he just so happen to fall to you, I mean, hey, you know, I think that you need to get him, you know. So sometimes, like, those guys be making these type of decisions because it feel like it's a means to an end. And you put the right people around them, maybe, you know, you won't have to worry about having these issues anymore. Let's see. Saints don't need to add players anywhere except to recover what they lost on the defensive line and replace Andrews Pete. The skill positions are set. I disagree with the skill positions are set. I do not believe that at all. I don't. I mean, how many times have we have to go through this? Like, if you can add more depth to your skill positions, you should be fine. Like, you're not fine at the running back position. It is Alvin Kamara and who else, right? Once again, if I got to squint an eye, if I got to tilt my head to try to make things work, it's not working. we can say Michael Thomas is going to be there, but Michael Thomas for the last 2 years has not been available. Seriously, like I love Michael Thomas. I want him to play. I want him to be well, but history for the last couple of years has shown he isn't going to be, upright for the most part. So you have to find something, to replace that. Chris Olave, I mean, really good player, but he's missed time. He's missed games. So who else did you have outside of them? Like Rashid Shaheed, okay. You're hoping that he can replicate or take that to the next level, but we thought the same thing about Paulson Adebo, right? He caught that one-hand snag in a final game against the Atlanta Falcons in the rookie year. We thought we can build on that. And it seemed like he took a step back. So all of this stuff that we're depending on and relying on is hope. I hope Michael Thomas gets better. He can play a full season. I hope that Chris Olave, can finally, emerge as that number one receiver and be who we want him to be. We hope that Rashid Shaheed can end up replicating and building off what he did when he came in later in the season. Like we hoping these things, but I ain't about to sit up here and say I'm just really content. If the Saints go out here and they can sign or grab a guy, like Odell Beckham Jr., I would be happy about that. If they can go out here and grab like one of these other receivers that can add depth to the room, if they can draft a guy like a Jonathan Mingo or a Bryce Ford Whedon or Jalen Hyatt or one of these other guys out here, like you need to add to this room. Like, once again, I'm squinting and I'm tilting my head and I'm trying to make things work. I am not comfortable with the skill position. And then on top of that, you have to make up for like what you're going to do with Alvin Kamara. If he gets suspended, then what? Right? And we know that Alvin Kamara is extremely instrumental to the success of this team. So you definitely need some running backs. So I'm not comfortable. I'm glad you are, but I'm not. I mean, if I'm being comfortable, it's like I'm convincing myself that I'm comfortable. I'm not comfortable at what I'm seeing. I'm just not. Like, hear me out. Draft Kalijah Kancey out of Pitt at 29. Trade back from 40 and draft DJ Dale from Bama. Roll Tide in the fourth. Well, I ain't mad at you with the Kancey pick. I mean, people talk about how talented he is, and honestly, with all this stuff going on with Jalen Carter, I'm just wondering, like, is Kancey's stock going to be on the rise? Because teams may be kind of nervous and afraid to draft a guy like Jalen Carter. Now, I don't think if he falls to Seattle, they're definitely not going to be afraid of him. They're not going to be afraid to draft this dude. Now, I think, maybe the Saints would be a little bit concerned because maybe it's a little bit too close to home. I mean, what's that, like maybe like a few states over, you still can get home relatively easy. But going out there to Seattle, you kind of out of your element. So, yeah. But I'm just wondering, like, does Kancey stock rise because of all these developments that have been taking place that involve Jalen Carter? I'm wondering. And I'm wondering if Jalen Carter's draft stock going to, be affected by some of these things that's going on. TJ, that's all we can do is hope. That's true. I mean, that's all you can do. But at the same time, those that don't learn from their history, they're doomed to repeat it. I mean, that's just the truth. Like, if you continue to feel like, okay, Mike Thomas is going to be available, we can build on what Rashid Shaheed did. And I'm hoping that all these things happen, but man, you got to be prepared. You got to be prepared. You got to make sure that you leave no stone unturned. And I just think that the Saints over the last couple of years have not really fully like embraced the fact that things could happen. And it may not, and the team may not look how you expect it to look going into the season. Like, think about this. Week 1 against the Falcons, we had Jarvis Landry out there. We had Juwan Johnson out there. Mike T was out there. Kamara was out there. Offensive line was intact for the most part, for the exception of Trevor Penning. You also had Chris Olave doing this thing. And and then at the end of the season, you had Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Marquez Callaway, Traquan Smith. I mean, you in a bunch of, a bunch of Jag guys playing running back outside of Kamara. Like, you had all these different things going on. The team looked completely different. And you can't help but to wonder, like, if they would have been more prepared or thought about this scenario, would they have been in it? So I'm just saying, man, you can't leave no stone left unturned. And I can't, based on what I've seen over the last couple of years, I just can't be content with just saying, okay, we're going to go into the season with this, because this can easily turn into that really quick. Paulson Adebo was straight, just struggled because he played on an injured ankle. Yeah, I mean, look, we can talk about, we can talk about the injuries and all that kind of stuff that was plaguing him, but that still don't defeat the fact that he didn't play well. I mean, your ankle being injured still, it don't make up for the fact that when you was out there, he was getting beat. Like seriously, like you can say it was because of the ankle, but he was still out there. And even if your ankle is plaguing you, you still a liability if you're getting beat. Now, year 3, do I feel like Paulson Adebo probably gonna rise to the occasion? Yes, I do. But at the same time, it goes to what I'm saying. Like, we expected for him to be a shutdown, lockdown guy, or being close to that, or a guy that, get his hands on the football, get some turnovers, get some interceptions, but it didn't happen that way, right? Regardless to what that's transpired with him as far as his ailments, it still didn't happen that way. So you can't just be like, oh, well, it was because he was hurt, but still, the Saints were 7-10, and teams put up points. And a lot of times when they put up points, it was because of something Paulson Adebo did. If we sign Odell Landry, does that mean Landry is gone? Landry already gone. Landry is a free agent. He signed anywhere he wants to. So he already off the books. And to me, in my honest opinion, I wouldn't sign him back. Miles Sanders would be a good pickup. He's a free agent. I like Miles Sanders a lot, but you already got Alvin Kamara on the books. So I would draft a running back. I would draft a running back. No need to put 2 seasoned veterans who are going to demand top dollar or has demanded top dollar in your backfield. You can get yourself a young guy who can play on a rookie deal for 3 or 4 years around that time. It's probably getting close to what Alvin Kamara thinking about retiring or, deciding to move on, right? And that guy can be up for his next contract. And then you can just do the same thing. That's smart business versus like, signing Miles Sanders to a 4-year, $50 million contract, and you already got Alvin Kamara with a $50 million contract. That's a $100 million backfield right there. $100 million, man, I'm just saying. Why do the Saints think that they are a better team than what they really are? It's because they have to. Like, would you expect for them to come up here and say, well, man, we suck. We're not very good, okay? I mean, it's all about optics at the end of the day. It's about not allowing anybody to see you sweat. I mean, I respect it. I respect what they doing, trying to, put this whole Jedi mind trick thing going, or trying to, try to prolong the inevitable. But eventually you're going to have to make some changes at some key positions. And some guys that are older, they're going to end up having to go away. But I mean, I respect the fact that they still fighting. I respect the fact that they see that this division is pretty much wide open, and they trying to get the advantage. And we can see the Carolina Panthers, they're being aggressive. They moved up. They got the first pick in the draft, right? More than likely, they're probably going to get Bryce Young, or CJ Stroud, one of those guys. So, you got to be prepared. And the Saints looking like, man, we got some veterans on this team. We got some talent on this team that we can win now. And if, the Saints can come away in the next 2 to 3 years, fighting for a Super Bowl or, heck, even get to a Super Bowl, I don't think anybody will be mad at these decisions. We have no D-tackle on the roster right now. Well, I'm pretty sure the Saints are going to have a D-tackle by the start of the season. TJ, did the Saints make an offer to Kentavious Street yet? Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge, I don't think they did. I haven't heard anything about that. But, I'm pretty sure they probably are offering him something, especially like where all these guys going. You want to have yourself a seasoned veteran or, who knows? They made room, by restructuring Cam Jordan's deal, restructuring Alvin Kamara's deal. I think they probably, maybe they looking at a defensive tackle that they can bring in, that can really, really make some noise. I mean, who knows? TJ, check out Yazir Abdullah out of Louisville and Zach Kuntz. Let's see, Kuntz out of Old Dominion, 6'7" tight end. He is the white Darnell Washington. If we miss Washington, let's see, Kuntz is a great pick. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm familiar with Yazir out of Louisville. I think that he's a really good pass rusher that you can end up getting late. I think on my latest mock draft, I think I actually have him going to the Saints in round number 4. So, I mean, you definitely can get a guy like that. But, man, I'm pretty sure they're probably going to address the interior in the first round. Let's see. The skill set have capable bodies, but the D-line for D tackle ain't got nobody at all. And Pete been hurt more than any player on the team except Mike T. The Saints can find a running back in the rookie camp. Yeah, you can find a running back late rounds too that can make a lot of noise. Saw your mock with tight end from Utah. History shows you never draft a tight end in the first round. I would rather draft a running back in the first round if that's the case, but I also think he's there at 40. We have bigger fish to fry. Well, all I know is I don't, like, with all due respect to history, I don't care about history. I don't. Like, I care about the players. I care about the mental makeup. I care about the talent. So you're telling me when Bowers come out of Georgia in the first round, like, you telling me, like, you're not going to draft Brock Bowers? Like, are you Bryce or Brock Bowers? You're telling me you're not going to draft him? Like, are you like, come on, man? Like, who was the other, the Falcon, the Falcon tight end, like, he was a first round pick, Kyle Pitts. I like, so you have guys that can fall to the first round that can be really talented. But I'm telling you right now, like, you're telling, like, if Bowers comes out of college, and he will next season, one of the most dominant tight ends in all of college football, you telling me in the first round you want to draft this dude? And I'm telling you, I don't know if anybody ever, like, really paid attention to Kincaid, out of Utah, because maybe, you probably sleep around the time they playing, but the dude is indeed a beast. And I'm telling you, like, depends on where he goes, he's going to be a problem. I think in the next 4 to 5 years, in the right situation, we're going to be looking and talking about this dude the same way we talk about some of these other top tight ends in the league, right? I've been telling you, like, nobody, like, I know what history says this, history says that. I don't care about history. I care about talent, right? And this dude is like talent. And if he's supposed to be like a top 15 pick, so the fact that if he was to even fall to you at 29 would be nothing short of a miracle. So that's the way that I feel about it. But yeah, what I'm saying? I don't, like, I respect history, but if I can get a guy like this, I'm taking him. And I'm going to find something to do with him. And it's talking about we have bigger fish to fry. Like, yeah. But I'm telling you, like, look at, like, I've been privileged and fortunate to go to Senior Bowl and the combines and see these dudes work out. And with this, what I'm saying, you actually, have opportunities to do research on guys and go back and look at film. And there's a lot of guys that I knew about, and there's a guys that I learned about. And I'm telling you, like, a lot of these guys that we just kind of just breeze past, they're going to be, like, really, really good. And Kincaid is one of those guys. Man, put Taysom at defensive tackle. What are some defensive tackles and free agents we can get? I already mentioned some. You got Calais Campbell, who just recently got released by the Ravens. That would be my top one, because I feel like, look, addressing the defensive tackle position, you're going to be able to do that in the draft, and you're going to get a really good one. But you still need some veteran leadership on the side. And I'm just, look, no disrespect to Malcolm Roach, I don't know if that's the veteran leadership that I think that the young bull will need, but you get somebody like Calais Campbell, who is a decorated defensive player, well-respected, Walter Payton Man of the Year, multi-time first-team All-Pros, definitely going to be in the Hall of Fame when he hangs it up. You have that guy in the locker room along with Demario Davis, along with Cam Jordan, Like, come on, man. Like, you got to be freaking kidding me. Like, if you don't learn nothing or get better with those type of guys in your locker room, something wrong with you. So I'm always gonna do that. I'm always a firm believer in a veteran guy to go alongside some of the younger guys, to teach them how to be pros, to show them how to approach the game. I think that's so important. It's not just about talent at times, because you got so many guys that are talented, but sometimes you need that veteran to be able to kind of help you see certain things, to constantly talk to you, to see some of the things that they may see on film, to teach you how to break down film and become a better player. Let's see. Did you hear about Jimmy G going to Vegas with a 3-year, $65.3 million contract and $34 million guaranteed? He's reunited with Coach McDaniel, and next season's for real, TJ. Well, look, congratulations. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of things that's transpiring right now as I speak. Especially about this whole Jimmy G situation. Happy for him. Man, look, if you can get money, get money. I still feel like, you got to be insane if you're not going to draft a quarterback. But these are the Raiders that we're talking about. The Raiders might go out here and get Jake Moody to kick out of Michigan, who I feel like, should be like, the Saints, 7th-round pick, who I have as, going to the Saints, because I'm sorry, I don't trust Will Lutz the way I once did, right? So I'm kind of on the Moody train, you know what I'm saying? But it won't surprise me. The Raiders going Raider. And that's one of the reasons why, when you look at guys like Derek Carr, you kind of got to just look at it and be like, you know what? Yeah, he did play for the Raiders. Toy, thank you very much for becoming a new YouTube member, and thank you for subscribing. Shouts out to you. You can join the State of the Saints podcast, become a member by going to the page and hitting join. So shouts out to Toy for becoming a member. And also thank you to Tim for the $5.50. He says, Calais Campbell and Jordan, wow, I'm buying my ticket to the Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean, look, Calais Campbell isn't the player that he once was. He's 36 years old. He'll be 37, but what I'm looking at is the veteran leadership. I'm looking at a guy that still has a little bit left in the tank. And I just think that just his mere presence in your locker room is going to elevate your defense, right? It's just something about that guy. I don't know if anybody ever followed Calais Campbell or hear people talk about Calais Campbell, but I got so much respect for the dude, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if he ended up coming to the Saints. Seriously. Like, Walter Payton Man of the Year, multi-time Pro Bowler, all pro. I mean, 14 and a half, 15 sacks from the interior position when he was really in his prime. And you take like a guy like, Cansey out of Pittsburgh, go alongside of him. Or, Edebawe out of Northwestern. You put him alongside Calais Campbell. Man, you got yourself, a young bull who has all the talent in the world, and you have a veteran that can help him really push him to be what he needs to be. Iron sharpens iron sometimes. I don't think it's a coincidence that, Cam Jordan became like, really talented as a pass rusher, going up against guys like Zach Strief and Ryan Ramczyk, right? Or going up against a guy like Teron Armstead. Iron sharpens iron sometimes. And also, having that teammate that can push you and really, try to get that out of you, I never thought I would see Rodgers leave Green Bay. I'm glad Jimmy G left the 49ers. It's time for a change at quarterback. Out of all the free agent signings today, Nick Wright, mine is just on the Saints. Well, I mean, his mind is on the Saints because he realizes that talking about the Saints, it generates a lot of buzz. Like, he ended up going viral because of him talking about how the Saints do business, right? So, of course, he's going to try to double down on that because Nick Wright is a troll. He already said it. He had actually literally admitted that he was a troll, and he said that it's not a bad thing to be that way. So Nick Wright is just trying to stay on TV, right? I mean, he's going to say and do anything he can to get on TV and stay on TV. And that's just the way that he rolls, right? And I, for one, don't have much respect for anybody that's willing to change or alter or look at ratings in order to, create their narrative about anything. I just don't have any respect for that type of move, but it's working for him. And these guys like him and Acho, they stay on social media, try to come up with catchy little tweets, to make us mad. But I just see where it's going, I mean, Nick Wright is a troll. Let's see. TJ, I hate being a homer, but Derek Carr was going heads up against Mahomes. I believe when this guy is motivated, the sky's the limit. We'll see. Thank you very much for the 550, Tim. Look, I think that, it's not like he played terrible when he going up against Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he played pretty well, but I mean, Patrick Mahomes is just a whole nother beast. He's a whole nother beast. His whack play calling needs to go. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Carolyn Jones-Smith is in the house. Miss Carolyn, happy birthday. So, yeah, today is my mom's birthday. She's passed by, so shouts out to her. I already wished her a happy birthday earlier in the show, but, she's here. So, happy birthday again to you, Mom. It says Aaron Rodgers traded to the Jets. Wow. Well, that's another top quarterback gone from the NFC. This conference is wide open. And that's what I'm saying. Like when people were talking about, like, man, Derek Carr, like, bro, this division is wide, the freak open. And, for anybody that just think that the Saints, if they have a quarterback that can get the ball into the end zone and the defense can replicate what we've seen over the last couple of seasons, that they can't get the job done, I have to disagree. I have to respectfully disagree. And, if this is true, which it seems like a lot of people are saying about Aaron Rodgers being traded, that's just another top quarterback going into another conference, and it's making it pretty much very top-heavy AFC and, in the bottom a little bit in the NFC. So, man, Zion, which he was Mike T. Let's see. Right. I wanted them to draft a quarterback too, but it doesn't seem like the Saints are into drafting a quarterback. Yeah, they're not going to draft a quarterback. Not them doing as much as they did to try to acquire Derek Carr. If they do, it's going to be late in rounds where it don't seem like it's going to be a threat. You start drafting guys like second, third round, it's basically like you're saying, oh, we trust you, but hey, if you ain't going to pan out, we got this guy right here that we're going to develop. Yeah, it's true, TJ. Happy birthday. A-Rod going to be doing a lot of babysitting. What's up, Jerry? Let's see. If the division conference is wide open and all the good quarterbacks are in AFC, where is the iron to sharpen the iron in the NFC? Well, that's where you got the young guard, right? You got Jalen Hurts out there. You got, some of these younger quarterbacks that's going to have to step up. And it makes some of these other quarterbacks, it's going to make them look like they're pretty doggone good. But here's the reality. Like Jalen Hurts played in the Super Bowl, and he played good enough to win, right? And he went up against, his defense went up against arguably the best quarterback in football right now, Patrick Mahomes. So, it showed you that, you still got talent. You know what I'm saying? They still got ability. They still got skill in the NFC. So you got Jalen Hurts. Dak Prescott can put it together. You got Dak Prescott. I mean, Dak may be middle of the pack, but they still find themselves winning 10, 11 games a season. So you got to give them respect in that regard. And like I said, it's these young guys that's going to have an opportunity to step up and make a name for themselves. So you have a lot of young, inexperienced quarterbacks in the NFC that are going to have to rise to the occasion. And also, with this new development, it makes guys like Derek Carr a little bit more valuable, and and it's going to make them look a little bit more appealing. I would believe that with Derek Carr, you're probably going to see more Saints games in prime time, right? Because you still need the NFC, right? So I think that you're probably going to see Derek Carr in the New Orleans Saints with more primetime games. And that was something that we complained about, right? We didn't feel like the Saints had enough primetime games, and we felt disrespected. And even though we was disrespected at the time. It just seems like, well, it was pretty much understandable the way they played last season. I mean, I was kind of embarrassed to see them boys in prime time in some games, but I think that it's probably going to make the Saints more appealing as an NFC team being on television in prime time. Jerome, thank you very much for the $4.99. Says Campbell, Rankins, and a rookie would be a respectable defensive tackle rotation, in my opinion. Jerome, look, it's going to be one or the other. I ain't saying you need both of them. You're going to be one or the other. Now, if you want to get Sheldon Rankins because Sheldon is a little bit younger than Calais Campbell, fine. But there's also that element of Sheldon Rankins having a history of being injured. Calais Campbell, don't really see him missing too many games. All right. So no matter if he is 36 years old. So, any one of those guys, I feel like would be a good fit. Sheldon Rankins being familiar with the Saints being familiar with him, and Calais Campbell, I just feel like he can just fit in and and have that veteran leadership. At this point, he has so much respect around the league. Like, if he speaks, everybody's going to listen because of who he is. We didn't deserve any primetime game. Exactly. At the time, we felt slighted, but looking back on it, like it's perfectly understandable why the Saints got slighted. We lost 2 defensive tackles today. Huge win for the Saints. Let's see. Primetime is based on who is the head coach when it comes to the Saints. I think it is the head coach and the quarterback, right? I mean, if you have a like people ain't watching primetime football games because Zach Taylor is the coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. It's because of Joe Burrow, right? If you have a good quarterback, above really good quarterback or elite quarterback, you probably gonna find yourself on prime time quite often. Derek Carr adds that element. I think that the Saints are going to get some primetime games based on the fact of how the NFC quarterback picture is as of right now, and the fact that you have a veteran that's capable of winning some football games and putting some points on the board like Derek Carr. So I just think that the Saints are probably going to have more primetime games this season than they did last season. I'm glad nobody's seen us stink it up in primetime. I agree with that. Yeah, that was kind of like a plus. Primetime is based, already read that. Yeah, Tech, let CD go. Yeah, CD ain't coming back. It's over. Like, he probably going to go to the highest bidder. So whoever going to get him the most money, that's probably where he going to end up going. I think we have 8 picks. How many will be on the defense? 6 with 1 for Tyjae Spears, I hope, and 1 for the interior line is my guess. Look, I like Tyjae Spears a lot, but I'd be lying to you if I felt like I want Tyjae Spears over Jahmyr Gibbs or Kenny McIntosh. Like, no disrespect to Tyjae Spears, but I think a lot of Tyjae Spears, support is because he went to Tulane. And I have no problem with that at all. I'm just saying, like, I think he's good, but I think Gibbs is better, and I think Kenny McIntosh is better. I mean, this could be like one of those things where I go back and I'm like, man, I sound stupid, but I just feel like they better. And I would actually choose one of those individuals over him. No knock to him. Like, I feel like he's gonna end up being a really good pro. I like his confidence. Had opportunity to speak to him at the combine, but I would rather have Gibbs or McIntosh. Thank you very much for the 99 cents. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. It says trade Davenport. You can't trade Davenport because he's an unrestricted free agent. So you can't trade a guy who's not technically on your books no more. Derek Carr ain't no wuss like Dalton, the BB gun. Spears support is all Louisiana. Bias Gibbs much better. Yeah, I mean, look, I think Tyjae Spears is really good, but all this support and stuff and everybody wanting him is because of where he went to school and he's from Louisiana. And like, I have no problem with that. Like, I think that he's good, but I don't think he's better than Kenny McIntosh. I don't think he's better than Gibbs. I don't think he's better than Bijan Robinson. I don't think that he's better than a running back out of Oklahoma. I think that he gives a certain skill set in the right situation. He can thrive, but those guys, I feel like they could be special regardless to what situation that you put them in. I don't know if Spears can be that guy. I'm not going to say that he's going to be that guy, and I would be saying that just because of his ties to Louisiana and Tulane. Black Preacher Man Sports, thank you very much for $5. Says, I'm a diehard Saints fan, and I have high hopes for Carr. Is decent enough, but DA is going to be the problem, but I am hoping. Well, let's just hope that he's not too much of a problem where the Saints can actually win more games than they did last season. Spears might be available in the fourth. DA and P. Carmichael could be the problem. Give me Gibbs in the second round. I agree with that. Only running back I'll draft with 29 is Robinson. I agree with that. Now, you ain't about to hear that from me. That's definitely how I feel. Let's see. Saints won 7 games despite uncertainty at quarterback and basically an injury-ridden team from secondary to receivers to offensive line, running backs, etc. Imagine if we just have a completely healthy squad. Well, I mean, that's kind of like beating a dead horse right now. Like, it's kind of the same conversation we've been having for the last 2 years. What if, if ifs was a fifth, we all would be drunk, right? Ain't that what the saying goes? Too many ifs for me. I want to see this thing happen. All right. We need to go all in on the defensive line in the draft. We have to get young on the D line. I agree with that. Basically, I will draft a running back, a defensive tackle with the first 2 picks. Not mad at that. That's definitely something that I would explore. TJ, should the Saints get Mike Gesicki? I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind getting Mike Gesicki, but me personally, I feel like how your contracts and all that kind of stuff is structured, I would rather draft the tight end. I'd rather draft the tight end instead of going get one. I just want us to get a skilled Tulane guy for once in the draft, if available at the second later picks. Well, like I said, I mean, I'm not in the business of drafting guys just because they come from Tulane. I'm not in the business of drafting guys just because they went to LSU or Northwestern or Louisiana Lafayette. Like, I don't care about any of that stuff. Like, seriously, like I'm not like how people be getting mad and outraged about people, Saints not drafting LSU players. I mean, I really don't care. Like, if there's a player that's better than a guy from LSU that you draft, I have no problem with it. If you can find a guy from Georgia, I don't care where you came from. Like, I don't care about, like, nostalgia and all that kind of stuff. Like, I feel like the reason why we in some of the situations we in, or the way some of us think, is because we so keen on nostalgia. Like, oh man, I heard that, he went to McDonald 35 High School. Oh, he went to Edna Carr. Like, I don't care. Like, can he play? I don't care if he went to, ITT Tech. I don't care, University of Phoenix. I don't care where he went. All right. I don't care where you go. You can go to Delgado, all I care. All I'm saying is you just need somebody. We need somebody that's gonna play. I don't care where they from. I don't care. I don't get mad because I don't see I'm looking around, man, they ain't got no LSU players on the team. Now, if an LSU player just so happen to be better than what you drafted, yeah, that's a problem. But if I can see why you draft a guy, like, I don't care. Like, man, he grew up on Carondelet Street. Who cares? Man, he grew, like, who care about that? I want to win. I don't care if you traveling. This dude grew up in Juneau, Alaska. If he can play on your defensive line or bring something to your offense, I'm about it. I really like Sean Tucker, the running back. He's someone we can get late. Let's see. I still say draft my homeboy from JSU, Miller, that can ball. Look, Aubrey Miller gonna get an opportunity. Probably like in one of those later rounds. I feel bad because the guy didn't go to the combine. Why would you invite him to the Senior Bowl? He performed well at the Senior Bowl, and you wouldn't bring him to the combine. I just don't understand that. But he'll find his way on the team. It's rather he'll get drafted or he'll be an undrafted free agent. Somebody will give him an opportunity to prove himself. I know one thing, TJ. If we can remain healthy, that's big. If with this team, but if we don't get at least one playoff spot this year, we just need to hit the factory reset button. NFC 2 open. Yeah. If you don't make the playoffs or be close to making the playoffs, that's pretty indicative of what your team is, and you just have to come to that conclusion. How do you feel about the Saints drafting Aubrey Miller at linebacker? I mean, if they do it, then that's fine, but I'm not lobbying for that. Like, I think Aubrey Miller is really good. Like, I think that he has a lot of heart. I mean, I watched him play like for 3 years, right? Because he went to my alma mater. But I mean, if you can find a linebacker that's better than him, draft that linebacker. You know, I would just be saying this because he went to JSU, right? I mean, I'm not saying that he's bad, but like if there's a 5th round pick and there's a linebacker that you feel like, you know, has like certain measurables, certain skill set, and you feel like it's better, and you draft him over Aubrey Miller, I'm fine by that. I don't have any issue with that because Aubrey Miller, just like every other linebacker who probably gonna get drafted later, not drafted at all, probably gonna have to, you know, like carve their little niche in by doing special teams. But I'm just not in the business of drafting guys because they went to my alma mater, or they from the same state that I'm from, or they went to a school that was in the same state that I lived. I'm good on that. I'm not a fan at all. None whatsoever. Says, hey TJ, I disagree. I'm drafting somebody that grew up on Alva Street. Just screw him. Look, if the guy on Alva Street can ball out, yeah. But look, I'm not going to be so enamored at the fact that the guy is from that area that I can't see like the imperfections. I won't want nobody to do that for me. Like I'm not trying, like, just because somebody know me or they grew up, like, I'm not looking for that. I'm not looking for handouts like that, you know. And I don't think a player should want to either. Now you should like understand, like, if they draft you or they pick you up, and it just so happens that you're from that area, then, you know, that's a plus. But I wouldn't want the Saints to be sitting up in a war room saying he from Louisiana, he from Pascagoula, or he from, you know what I'm saying, or he from, like, you know, the Gulf Coast or whatever like that, he from Picayune. Like if you drafting like that, man, like, I think everybody and their mama need to be fight. Even though we got enough burners, but I want us to look at Robbie Anderson. Can't have enough weapons, TJ. Ain't a real. Robbie Anderson to me is a one-trick pony, and I'm good on it. I think I'm tired of the one-trick ponies. Like, I've kind of got tired of that when Sean Payton was the coach. When you had Robert Meacham because you wanted to run streak routes, Devery Henderson for streak routes, you know, Marcus Colston because you wanted to run a little short routes, you know, Tavares Cadet because you wanted to run a screen. Like, I'm good on that. I want some multi-dimensional wide receivers. That's what I want. Like, the best thing about Olave, he can take it over the top. He can run really crisp routes. Same way with Rashid Shaheed, you can build on that, and so can Michael Thomas. Like, let's get some guys that can do more than one thing, right? And let's get past that. Like, Robbie Anderson, you take it over the top. Like, you pretty much know what you're in the game for. Hey, TJ, I came in late, but is it true about Ayamada went to the rival? Yep, he did. He got a 3-year deal with the Atlanta Falcons. That'll be the second defensive tackle that they got from the Saints. The other one was Tyler Davison, right? Losing Big O and Shad Tuttle to our NFC South rivals is tough, but at the same time, there is a lot of talent in the draft, so we should be easy to replace, but only time will tell. Well, it's going to take you some time to replace David Onyemata. Like, Shad Tuttle probably won't take you as long. Like, not to say that Shad Tuttle is terrible. Definitely can see him as a starter on somebody's team. It doesn't shock me that he got opportunity. But, you know, I think that, you know, David Onyemata was much better than a lot of people would give him credit for. He developed into being a really solid defensive tackle. I'm going to read a few more, then we getting out of here. It says, we need Mike Thomas, Mike Evans type wide receiver. We have a deep threat. We need 50-50 ball dog. Yeah. The 6'3", 213, 214 guys that fit that bill like a Michael Thomas would be really, really good. Or a guy that has like that, you know, that build like an Anquan Bolden type guy. You know, I think that you need that. I haven't been good to see our defensive tackles go to our rivals. Yeah, I mean, but that's the business, you know. it's not about loyalty to teams. It's about loyalty, loyalty to teams while you're there, but you also have to be a businessman at the end of the day. And these agents do a good job at putting these guys in positions where they can have generational wealth. And it may not be the most popular decision among fans, but I'm happy for these guys today because they can be able to take care of their families. A lot of these guys we look at and we just think just because you're in the NFL, you just making hand over fist with money, man. A lot of these guys, they families still like staying in them same, substandard conditions because they haven't made these type of contracts. But with the money that these guys get, man, they can get their mom the home that they always wanted to get their mom, or, be able to take care of their family, be able to set up a college fund for their children. Like this is big moments for these guys. And I just think that, sometimes we get so enamored on, oh man, he should have did this. Oh, he could have took a pay cut. But man, these guys only, you got to think about this. I'm 36. I'll be 37 in August, right? And I don't consider myself an old guy, right? I feel like I still got another 30, 40, 50 years to live, right? And these guys, at best, you'll probably get up to maybe being 36, 37. If you win a battle of attrition, you might be able to stay in the league a little bit longer. But that's a long time to live, a life, after football. So, man, getting these guys set up and being taken care of, like, I'm not mad at that at all, and I don't care who they go to. I'm just happy for these guys to be able to get the money so they can be able to take care of their families. Von Bell signing with the Panthers. Everybody want to come to our division. Sign Caden Ellis. We need him. He's young. Demario Davis getting older. Hopefully Mickey works out his cap magic. Von Bell just went to the Panthers. TJ, nothing gets old but clothes. Only news we're getting is who the Saints losing instead of gaining. Well, I mean, to be quite honest with you, we had a lot of complaining. If I can go back to the show, a lot of complaining about Dave Alumata not being the same player since apparently he got busted for PEDs. A lot of people talking about what Shy Tuttle doing, right? A lot of people talking about what Malcolm Roach doing. So all of a sudden, they're like the best and the most important things in the world to us. Like, come on, like we have to pick our battles as fans. And I mean, look, if you've been on this whole kick, fine. But I'm not like, I don't think the Saints are like that far behind because they lost Shy Tuttle or they lost Dave Alumata. I think that these guys can be replaced if you do your due diligence and, if you play your cards right. I just think that looking at guys, leave out the door. I mean, come on, man. Like we've been talking about these dudes can't stop the run. What happened to the days where the Saints went like 2 years without allowing a 100-yard rusher? And now we have the interior lineman leaving out the door. And now all of a sudden, like, what we doing? Like, what do we want to sign them for so we can continue to complain about how they couldn't stop the run? So if you can improve that position and maybe get back to being some run stuffers, why not? But I'm not in a business. Like, if you have a personal gripe or something to gripe about, I can understand that. I get it. But I'm just not in the business of just complaining about something just because it's gone. Like sometimes it leaving might open up opportunity for something to get better. Yeah, we act like we didn't want a defensive tackle, me included as far as Tuttle, but no need to cry behind them now that they're gone. Like I'm just saying, like the interior needed some help. I mean, it needed some help, folks. Like we can go back and run back tape. I know sometimes like we live in this world where news is constantly like changing, and sometimes like we tend to forget like some of the things, the thoughts and the views that we had. But I mean, the interior needed some work, and these guys leaving ain't really, I won't say it ain't news because it is news because I got respect for them, but it's not like we weren't looking to get better at that position. I agree. I don't miss none of them at all. I was one of them saying he hasn't been the same since the PEDs. Lave a little too soft for my liking. He dropped like 7 passes just because he got touched. There were some times where I feel like, he could have came down with the football, and I think that probably cost him. A lot of the games where he could have came up with big plays were actually televised. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why the NFL looked a different way, or, the voters looked a different way, and not picked them for Offensive Rookie of the Year, to be honest. The thing is, Panthers and Falcons don't have the quarterback yet. Yeah. Well, we know the Panthers going to get their quarterback, and it's going to be probably going to be the best one this draft has to offer. So, like, you got to take that, you got to put that in mind. And then we also have to take into account the Panthers beat the Saints twice without a quarterback, and they loading up and they getting better. So, what does that tell you? What does that tell you? Like, they weren't very good last year, but they swept the Saints. So imagine, like, they beefing up right now. So what you think going to happen? They're only going to get better. I guess CJ going to Atlanta next. Three Stooges, Tuttle, Yabata, and Turtle. Now one Stooge left. Olave just got to put on muscle. Yeah, I think so. I just think he has to get a little bit more muscle on him, man. Brady waiting on free agency to be over. Sheldon Rankins is a free agent. Yeah, I mentioned that. Run defense was bad as watching Dalton win games. You go for the best and expect the worst. Time to get young at the interior. And what's going on with Pete? Pete and Davenport must go. Well, Davenport pretty much going to test the market, I'm sure. And Pete, he's still on the team, but who knows? It might be a trade that the Saints can make. TJ, that tells me that we didn't have a quarterback either. Exactly. But, I mean, we still got swept by the Panthers, and they didn't have a quarterback. Who was their quarterback when they played the first time? What, Baker Mayfield? And the longest play, he threw like a 5-yard pass that turned into like a 60-yard run by Laviska Shenault. Like, I mean, they beat us twice. Like, look, we can sugarcoat it. We can talk about, well, what had happened. No, they beat us twice. They beat us twice, man. And let's not be like that, because if we beat them twice, we'll be talking about it. So no matter how you want to, carve it up, divide it, or give it out, they beat us twice. So they have that capability of beating us. So if they ramp up and get better, there's a possibility they can win this division. And to be quite honest with you, I would not be surprised if the Panthers win this division, because they got a lot of young talent on this team that's growing up that resembles that of the 2017 New Orleans Saints, where you have a lot of young guys. You remember that draft where they got like all defensive players? I mean, Jeremy Chin, now a leader. You got Dante Jackson out there. You got J.C. Horn out there. Like, you got some players on that defense, and you also have some guys on that offense that's pretty good too. So we can say, oh man, they ain't got no quarterback. They didn't have no quarterback last year, and they beat the Saints twice. So that's not out the realm of possibility that the Carolina Panthers win this division. Because if I'm being honest too, they got a better coach than the Saints got. Like, I feel like Frank Reich is a better coach than Dennis Allen. And I think that Frank Reich can put his team in a position to succeed down the stretch. Let's see. What up, TJ? Why our division so they just purged our roster? Because our roster is good, and that's an indication of how good the Saints have been at developing players and drafting them. I mean, pretty much. Panthers swept us in spite of themselves. However you want to carve it up, they beat us. Period. End of story. Like, we can talk about that. Like, we can talk about how they beat us. You can tell us what happened. They swept us. They swept the Saints. Period. No excuses over here. Finally says Olave needs to start run blocking better too. That's honestly selfish to not take blocking your man seriously. Well, I think he'll get better, man. Most young players kind of struggle until they kind of develop into being those blockers, but he'll get better at it. Von Bell went to the Panthers, which are already, been established here. But, man, thank y'all so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Really do appreciate it. Shouts out to everybody who donated. Shouts out to everybody that contribute to the show through the chat. If you're watching this live, thank you so much. If you're watching this at all, thank you so much. You can check out the State of the Saints podcast on Facebook.com, search the State of the Saints Podcast Network. You can subscribe to the channel here. We're pretty close to 10,000 subscribers, so hopefully we can reach that goal pretty soon. Shouts out to the Belly Up Sports podcast as well, the podcast network, Belly Up Sports. I just recently signed on with them. I'm extremely excited about it, being a part of Belly Up Sports, being a part of that. And, the State of the Saints podcast needed a podcast network home. We were with the Pigskin Podcast Network for quite some time. Decided to, that contract deal was up, and we needed to kind of explore other options. So shouts out to Belly Up. Looking forward to working with them. Make sure that you check out the Belly Up Sports Podcast. Not only do they have podcasts for other NFL teams, but they also write articles that cover the NFL, also baseball, hockey, or what have you. So check them out. Happy to be a part of the network, and looking forward to doing some things with them. Also, check out previous episodes available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Anchor FM. And you can follow me on Twitter at TJAY Jones 8. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?